And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here, and today we're going to take a look at the much anticipated, long-awaited reprint of Glory to Rome. We're going to take a look at Glory to Rome, the Black Box Edition by Cambridge Games Factory. Now, as many of you know, I really enjoy Glory to Rome, so my surprise ending's not going to be too much of a surprise, really. I am going to like the game, but we're going to look at the game. We're going to talk about component quality real briefly. We're going to look over a brief overview of the game, but if you want a more in-depth overview of the game, Google Ryan Metzler Glory to Rome, and I have a good video for the previous edition. But real quick, why don't we take a look at what comes inside that box. We'll look at how the game plays and my thoughts on the components, and then we'll come back here and get my final summary of what I think of the package as a whole. Here you can see the new black box edition of Glory to Rome. Now, it's going to be a little hard to see. I don't know if I can get it on the camera, but this is going to be a review that mostly covers the component quality of the game, as I've already reviewed the game and gone over gameplay in a different video, but I'll cover it real quick in this as well. But this game, the art is amazing. You can see it's much nicer to look at than in the original version. The box does have some issues with bubbling. You can't probably see it, but right here there's some bubbling on the box with the paper coming up from the actual cardboard. Not a huge deal. Now, if we open the box, I've taken the insert out of mine, but we'll see a whole bunch of cards. We have the rule book, which is much more detailed and nice and longer than the previous one, with examples and all kinds of explanations. We have a shorter, smaller sheet here with some additional rules that you can use, and then all of the cards. Now let me pull these out real quick and we'll take a look at them. So here you can see the components for Glory to Rome Black Box. You'll notice there's big piles of cards here that are going to be the main cards you use in the game. You'll note the nice artwork on the back, as well as the improved artwork on the front of each card. And these are much, much easier to read and much nicer, in my opinion, than the base game cards, although both serve the function of the game perfectly well. In addition, you can see we have our sites here. We have our rubble, wood, concrete, brick, marble, and stone sites. We have the jack cards, and we have the final or the end game merchant bonus cards for each of the different roles. We also have our leader card that'll denote who's going first, and we have these nice player mats. We have the player mat, one of these for each player, that shows you where you're going to put your influence, which are going to be points, and also dictate how many cards you can have in your vault and in your clientele. And you have your stockpile. So this is nice. It also gives you a layout of all of the possible actions and what they do, much improved over the base game. On the other side, you can see a layout here of how things get to different places and how you can play the game, so it kind of lays out the entire game. We also have the Rome Demands sheet, just a nice little sheet to show when you're playing the Legionnaire card, what you're demanding and what resources you get, and on the back it describes the two different variants of the game that are included, the Imperium Romanum and the Republica Romana in the game. So you'll note I have all the cards sleeved, and this is because if you look at some of these cards, let's say for example this jack here, I don't know if it's going to be easy to see, but along the outside you can already see some fraying of the card. I've got these sleeved because I don't want the cards to fray too much, but you know, I guess that's going to be each person's own preference whether they want to sleeve it. Anyhow, let's go into the gameplay real quick. On a player's turn, a player is going to have a hand of cards. They'll have a hand much like this, and each card serves multiple different functions. But on your turn, you're either going to lead a card or you're going to think. Leading a card means to play a card from your hand. And when you play a card from your hand, it always plays as the role that's along the left-hand side. So in this case, you would be playing a patron. What a patron would do is allow you to take a card out of a central pool of cards and place it into your clientele on your player sheet here. And that clientele would allow you to take additional actions whenever you led or followed a specific type of card that is being played. So for example, if I had a patron clientele and someone played a patron, I would get to take an extra patron action on my turn. We have architects. Architects are going to either let you start a new building by placing a building from your hand onto the appropriate site on the board, and then eventually you can build that, or they're going to let you move things, and you're going to be able to move things from your stockpile, which is an area underneath your board where you're going to collect resources, into that building. Now you'll note when we're talking about that each card is either a person, a type of card that you can lead, or it can be a resource along the bottom here. This one is a marble, or they can be a building, which you can see on the top. So each card is going to serve three potential different purposes. We also have Craftsman, which is much like the Architect. This lets you either start a card from your hand, you would play this, and then you'd be able to start a card from your hand on one of these sites, or to move resources from your hand underneath a building. So if I already had this building started and I had another marble to put under it, I could move that resource from my hand underneath the building, sorry. We have Merchants. What Merchants let you do is move things that are in your stockpile, so resources you have acquired from the center of the table, into your vault, where they will score victory points at the end of the game. You'll see that, for example, if I moved a stone, which is also the Merchant, from my stockpile into my vault, it would be worth 3 points, which are the coins along the bottom of the card. We have Legionary. That's the red card here. Legionary is going to let you demand cards from your other player, using this Rome Demands map. What you'll do is play your Legionary on your turn when you lead, then you will show a card from your hand, for example, Stone, and say Rome Demands Stone. Each of the players to your left and your right, if they have a stone, have to give you one, which will go into your stockpile on your map here. If they don't have any, you don't get any, but you'll also get one card from the center of the table where the discarded cards go, if there is one there. Finally, we have the Laborer here. The Laborer is going to let you directly take cards from the center of that region, the center of the discarded pile of cards, and put them underneath your stockpile. So on your turn, you're either going to lead a card or you're going to think. And thinking allows you to draw one card, to take a jack. Now that's if you're already at your maximum hand size, or if you're already lower down than your maximum hand size, you can draw up to your maximum, taking the amount of cards you need to fill your hand. After you've done your roll, played something, everyone else gets a chance to think or follow. They can follow if they have the same type of card in their hand, or they want to play a jack, or if they happen to have any clientele that already match what you're leading, they can simply choose to think and still take the action as many times as they have the clientele in their region. The game will continue on, and you'll be building these buildings, which is really the point, because each time you build a building, you're going to start a foundation. And when you finish the foundation, this foundation is going to go into your influence, increasing the amount of clients you can have, how many cards you can have in your vault, and the number of victory points you have. So now instead of having the 2 that I start with, I have 3 victory points. The game will end when all of these piles of cards are gone, or if all of the in-town sites are gone. Now you can tell that sites are in town because they look like this. And based on the number of players, there'll be a certain number of in-town sites. In this case, we had 3. I took one of the rebels. So when all of the in-town sites of all the types are gone, there'll be only out-of-town sites, which you can build on if you have extra actions. Once all of the in-town sites are gone, the game will end, and whoever has the most points by having the most built buildings, the most cards in their vault, and by winning the merchant bonuses, which is having the most of each type of good in their vaults, whoever has the most marble will get 3 additional points, is going to be the winner. Well, there you have it. That is Glory to Rome, the Black Box Edition. A game, as I already said, that I enjoy quite a bit. It's probably in my top 20 at the very least, maybe in my top 10, but I don't think just quite there. But a great game all around. Now, the component quality on this, I don't think lives up to what everyone was expecting. The card quality, they tend to get damaged a little bit easy, thus why I sleeved them. The box does bubble a little bit. So all around, I think people were looking for a little bit more in terms of what they got. They didn't get quite what they planned for. Overall, the game is still great, and they add a couple more options for a little bit less, I guess, cutthroat version of the game, and a little bit more cutthroat version of the game, which is more akin to the original. But the quality in terms of cards and box a little low. The quality in terms of player aids and rules much higher than the original. I think that the mats turned out very nicely. They give you a nice flow of the game. They describe a lot of what you can do in the game in a small area that you can easily access for each player. So I think that was a great addition to the game. Now, on top of all of this, I'm a little disappointed that the Kickstarter promos are exclusive, and I'm not usually a big fan of these exclusive promos that you get on Kickstarter, things that you can't access after the game. I wish they would have provided a way to get these afterwards by maybe paying extra, so provide them at a discount to the Kickstarters, but that's not something I can gripe on too much. Maybe I should have jumped on the Kickstarter instead. So overall, I think this is a good upgrade to Glory to Rome. I much prefer this edition with the new artwork and the new components over the previous edition, even though that the card quality was a little bit better on the previous one. But I think if I had my choice and my way to play, I would go with the Black Box edition of Glory to Rome over the previous print or any of the previous other prints in my gaming collection.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.